Today, I am joined by Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin to help me go through some big stories that I know my audience wants to know about. Senator Johnson, thank you for joining me again.
Well, Stephen, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You guys are reopening the government. You've just voted on the Epstein stuff. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. President Trump, near the end of the Schumer shutdown, called on the Senate to nuke the filibuster. He said, there's way too much to do. We've got to get done. This is holding us up. He also said, Democrats, when they get back in power, they're going to get rid of this. It's antiquated. We need to move forward. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I came out publicly, supported his position, as reluctant as I am to do so. I mean, it's unfortunate the Democrats don't respect the filibuster, which means respect the rights of the minority party in the Senate. I think it's, over the years, certainly prevented an awful lot of bad legislation from being passed by the majority, prevented us from going down the socialist path decades ago. But the sad fact of the matter is Democrats have really shown us their hand. They purged the last two Democrat senators who voted against ending the filibuster. They've all voted to end it. They're dedicated to ending it. I can't imagine a Democrat Senate candidate that won't pledge to end the filibuster. So you have to recognize that reality. You may not like it, but you have to recognize that reality. And when they do it, they'll do it to maintain their power. They're not going to do it for the benefit of the American people. They're going to do it to bring in more Democrat senators, pack the Supreme Court, to maintain their power. For us to do it, we're going to do it for the benefit of the American people, to secure our elections, to completely secure our border, hopefully repair the damage done by Obamacare, transition to a system that works. There are a lot of good things that we have to do. And my guess is there's a great deal of reluctance within the conference to use, just 50 votes to change the rules to get President Trump's nominees through. But the Democrats were so obnoxious in their obstruction that we pretty well recognize if we don't do this. I mean, President Trump wasn't even get 500 nominees when most presidents get about 1,000 confirmed in their first Congress. So just because of the obnoxiousness of their obstruction, we changed the rules with just 51 votes. Probably we got 53 probably. My guess is that may happen here as well when my colleagues realize the reason they shut the government down wasn't healthcare. That was the excuse. The reason was they don't want anything good happening in America prior to the November election so they can get power. They don't want President Trump to be able to claim credit for a good economy, for bringing down prices. They don't want any of that. They're happy to use the American public as pawns, just like they use federal employees in pawns in this dysfunctional shutdown. They're happy to use the American public as pawns in their acquisition of power.
And I think a lot of Americans saw that in the beginning. Maybe they thought, oh, maybe this is the Republicans because you guys control everything. That story was very popular. But by the end, people were like, wait a minute, this is the Democrats. They voted against this thing 14, 15 different times. But you're right. They already tried to nuke the filibuster. And when they couldn't, they nuked the two Democrat senators and pushed them out of power so that they could then try again down the road. Let me ask you this. I don't know. I know you're a very busy guy. I don't know if you saw this video or not, but 6 or 7 Democrats, senator and House representatives, they put out a video the other day basically telling people in the military, the FBI, the CIA, you do not have to follow Trump's orders. It's okay to disobey your orders. We need to keep the ship. Don't follow these orders. Did you see that video? And if so, what were your thoughts on it?
Well, I heard it earlier on a radio program I was on. I mean, basically what they're doing is they're inciting insurrection. I mean, what illegal orders are they talking about? Democrats, this is out of the leftist playbook, falsely accuse your political opponent of doing exactly what you do, orders of magnitude worse. So that's what this is all about. It was galling to listen to it. It's disgusting. It just proves that the danger to our democracy is not President Trump, is not the Republican Party. It is the radical left, the Democrat Party. And what Republicans have to realize is the radicalized Democrat Party. This is not the Democrat Party of our parents and grandparents, okay? This is a radicalized group of people that are at war with Republicans. I mean, to them, politics is a blood sport. It's all about power. That is what is so unifying in the Democrat Party. They all want to acquire and maintain power, and they will literally do anything to do it. They don't care who they destroy, which is what we saw with Arctic Frost and this massive partisan dragnet scooping up, for example, 38 ordinary patriotic Americans in Wisconsin that were involved with the alternate elector process, which was approved by our state attorney general's office, and now they're criminalizing it. Now they're trying to put the Judge Trupus, who represented Trump, away for life. He's already spent about $1 million. They bankrupt this individual. They don't care who they destroy to gain power.
Wow. Yeah, I was very disturbed by it as well. It wasn't like, hey, hang on, Trump's only going to be in 3 more years. It was literally disobey the commander in chief, go against, it was really weird. Let me show you in the audience how the White House responded to this, because it was pretty fiery.
It is insurrection, plainly, directly, without question. And when you have one of the lawmakers on that video being unable to state in, as you say, lengthy cross-examination, a single so-called illegal order, it just proves the point. It's a general call for rebellion from the CIA and the armed services of the United States by Democrat lawmakers, saying that you have not only the right, but the duty and the obligation to defy orders of the commander-in-chief, that those who carry weapons in America's name should defy their chain of command and engage in open acts of insurrection, that the CIA, the clandestine service, which isn't even legally authorized to operate in the United States, should engage in, again, acts of rebellion and insurrection. These lawmakers should honestly resign in disgrace and never return to public office again for even daring to think, let alone to say these words and to say them proudly. But it shows what a dangerous moment we're in. We have seen the Democratic Party nurse the flames of violence and insurrection against the federal government for the last 10 months. When you see this continuous campaign of violence against ICE officers and Border Patrol agents, when you see Democrat sanctuary politicians and Democrat sanctuary governors side with the rioters, side with the assaulters over federal law enforcement, and that spills even into juries and grand juries, when you see Democrat jurors engage in nullification to let off violent attackers who are engaging in physical violence, physical assault against federal officers. This is a dangerous moment. You have a political party, an organization, the Democrat Party, and their message is that any action, no matter how unlawful, no matter how dangerous, no matter how much it threatens constitutional order, is justified if it keeps Democrat policies in effect at any cost.
All right, that kind of backs up what you were saying. I mean, they don't care who they destroy. They use their dog whistle to go after Border Patrol, DHS, National Guard. Now they're telling the military to betray Donald Trump, and all of this to remain in power. Cryptocurrency is on fire, and here's huge news. Trump Media just signed a massive $6.4 billion deal with Yorkville Acquisition Corp and Crypto.com, the crypto platform trusted by millions of users worldwide. They're teaming up to acquire up to $6.4 billion in CRO to establish America's first CRO treasury, Trump Media Group CRO strategy. Once complete, this new company will be the largest publicly traded CRO holder out there. Ready to join the crypto revolution? Head to crypto.com today and be part of this historic move. That's crypto.com. Don't wait. For more information on the proposed business combination, check out Yorkville Acquisition Corp's public filing.
Well, first of all, that's why we all love Stephen Miller. He will have the same take as I had on it. He just does it far more thoroughly and more articulately. So no, I mean, we're on the same page here. It literally was disgusting when I heard that early this morning, and I was every bit as outraged as he was, and quite honestly, as Americans should be as well. It's outrageous what those elected officials did right there.
Yeah. Let me switch gears with you, Senator. You are one of the few that align with me when it comes to medical stuff and vaccines and the COVID lockdown, all that. How do we make America healthy again when it's become obvious that big pharma and big insurance have done corporate capture, and it just feels like Congress can't even get anything done? They just keep enriching themselves more and more and more as Americans' health suffers more and more. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it starts with returning integrity to science, which has been thoroughly corrupted. I think COVID started opening people's eyes to the capture and the corruption of, the big medicine cartel, its capture of our federal health agencies, its capture of our media, of our university systems, of the journals. More and more Americans, and this is a very sad fact, they don't trust the medical establishment. They don't trust their doctors anymore because their doctors turned a blind eye to treatment of COVID. Recommended that experimental injection, turned a blind eye toward the deaths and the maiming, the disabilities caused by those injections, and they deny it to this day. So the American public, though, saw it. They know people, or they were injured by the injection themselves. They might have known somebody. What was the Rasmussen poll said? I think more than 50% of Americans believe they know somebody who died from the COVID injection. So again, they believe their own eyes, and they're, as a result, disbelieving the lies being told by the medical establishment. So the medical establishment's got a lot of credibility to restore, but the only way to do that is by actually restoring credibility to science. And we start with, for example, the revelation of the Henry Ford study, where I held a hearing on that. Del Bigtree, Aaron Siri coaxed the Henry Ford to do the study on vaccinated versus unvaccinated. The conclusion was vaccinated individuals had 2.5 times the rate of chronic illness. And rather than publish that study, they buried it. We revealed it in a hearing about a month ago, and Del Bigtree made an excellent film about it. That's going viral. So again, more and more people are starting to see these things. Their eyes are being opened. And one thing, Stephen, when your eyes are open, you can't close them. You can turn your back on it, but you can't unlearn what you learned.
Yeah, I watched that whole thing, and I just appreciate your courage in bringing that to light. In our final minutes together, Democrats kept saying people's Obamacare premiums are going to double or triple if we don't give them these credits. I don't believe that is true. I know that there's going to be some increase, but I'm in a Republican state. I didn't even think about that. I just started asking friends and neighbors and people I go to church with, how much are your monthly insurance costs? And what they're sharing with me, I mean, some of these are as much as a mortgage payment. So I'm just wondering, can we actually replace Obamacare with something better and more affordable?
Well, we need to repair the damage done by Obamacare and transition to a system that works. I mean, that to me is the operative statement. I've called out Bernie Sanders and my own junior senator, Tammy Baldwin, for the big lie, saying that more than 20 million Americans see their premiums double. That's a big lie. That's based on a Kaiser Family Foundation said that on average, premiums are going to double. The truth is about 22 million Americans of the 24 million are below 4% of the poverty line. Their subsidies don't go away. They revert back to the basic Obamacare subsidies, that basic structure. So if you got a beef with what you're being reimbursed, and by the way, in that structure, nobody pays more than 9.5% of their net income for their net premium. Now, what is true is if you're above 400% of the poverty line for the first time during the pandemic for a temporary time period, you got help. And so you got subsidies. When those subsidies go away, some of those premiums are doubling and tripling and more. And I quite honestly am happy to help people transition out of that system. But only if Democrats are willing to admit they've got the problem, admit the damage done, and work with us in good faith to repair that damage, repair the awful structure of Obamacare, which is causing premiums to skyrocket. What analysis we did, 40-year-old on a silver benchmark plan, you go state by state, the average increase since the start of Obamacare is 169% increase in premiums versus 39% increase in inflation. That's a 4.3 times greater increase in Obamacare premiums, the gross premium, which of course people don't see because about 90% of those premiums are subsidized by the American taxpayer. So all people see is their net premium, which is a fraction. You know, in average, probably about 10% of the total premium is what people are being actually paying on those exchanges, if you're 400% of the poverty line or below.
Okay. And then just in our final few seconds here, President Trump says, I want something fixed, but if nothing else, I want the money to go to the people. Do you think we can get something better, or this first round, are we going to see money sent to the people?
Well, that's a really good top line goal. You know, let's give money to the people. Let's give them the freedom to buy the insurance policy that suits their needs, whether it's right now, Obamacare is a catastrophic plan. Those things used to be dirt cheap until they loaded them all up and forced people on exchanges to bear the full cost of covering people with pre-existing conditions. So you got to reinstitute high-risk pools with some modifications. But no, there's plenty of things we can do, but we're not going to be able to do it without Democrat support, and they've got to first admit they've got a problem and work with us in good faith to fix it.
All right. Well, I don't go to AA, but I know the first thing is you got to admit you got a problem. Senator Johnson, thank you so much for coming on and all you do. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.